Hello and welcome to One United. My name is Parthosh Joshi and I'm here along with Wali Siddiqui and Anshuman Joshi talking about Manchester United's most important game of the season against Villarreal, the Europa League final. First of all, welcome Anshuman and Wali. A big game, probably the most important game, as many are saying, for Manchester United, a season defining game because a trophy is what remains when the season ends. First of all, Wali, welcome. And how are you feeling about the final?
Nervous and yeah, sort of confident, but at the same time a little worried because of how we have been playing recently. Although we did get a win against Wolves, and yeah,
Yeah.
I just hope that it's like you said, it's one of the most important games. And if you look at the last 3 years, this is the most important game for our club. And not just for
Yeah.
us. In hindsight, if you look at it, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wins this trophy, this could actually do wonders for us next season. And some of the players actually need that winning mentality. We need to gather that habit of winning trophies. I think this could be the first step. So let's just cross our fingers and hope for the best.
Yeah, let's cross our fingers and hope for the best. Anshuman, how are you feeling about the final?
I mean, as nervous as a Manchester United fan can feel. I mean, we can't really afford to have any kind of optimism. That's what being a Manchester United fan is. That even though you are playing a team against whom you are outright favorites, there's just a part of you that just go, okay, we are going to do something. As we were discussing before we started recording, that we are more
Yeah.
worried about our own team rather than whatever Villarreal is going to offer. So yeah, just all sorts of nervous and like Wally said, the same feeling that I don't care how we play tomorrow, just get the fucking trophy and bring it home.
Okay, get the fucking trophy home is the sentiment. Let's start our conversation first of all. Oh,
This should
and
have been our
yeah,
headline. Get the fucking trophy home. I guess this would have been nice.
we'll edit it. We'll edit it. Okay. Now let's start from the review of the Wolves game. The Wolves Moon review, and we had a win in the final game of the season. Nunes' farewell wasn't to be a happy one for Wolves fans. They were expecting to register some points in the final game of the season, and the final game, then Nunes managed them, but that wasn't to be. So, youngsters at United chose the other route. They played a phenomenal game, in my opinion. Probably we saw a midfield pivot which every Manchester United believed in after a long while playing well. That was Donny van de Beek and Nemanja Matic. So we'll talk about it. First of all, Anshuman, what do you think about the Wolves and Manchester United game?
Yeah, it was a decent performance. I really like the fact that despite using a second string squad, we never really felt that worried regarding the whole match. We did concede as is customary at this point, but I didn't follow the match as closely as I have the last 37 ones because I had 5 games going on at the same time and there was a lot more
Hmm.
drama happening in the other European matches. But yeah, despite that, I didn't really feel any kind of jeopardy throughout the whole match. So that is testament to
Hmm.
the players. Despite not having played so frequently, we were able to eke out a win against a Wolves side
Hmm.
that has not been the best, but still do offer a lot going forward. So it was a good match. I think seeing Donny van de Beek and Juan Mata play together again, that midfield tells us everything that we need to know regarding the reinforcement that we need. That what good a number six can do to us, allowing in the midfield another player that is good on the ball playing alongside someone who's also good on the ball. So that kind of control that your midfield allows you really lets you grow into the game a lot more. And the defensive pivot of Fedge and McTominay shouldn't really be the first choice midfield partnership of a Manchester United team that wants to go for all the biggest titles. So yeah, that was more important for us. Donny van de Beek's performance was absolutely fantastic. Every time Juan Mata plays in the midfield, I'm always delighted because I have always resented the fact that no matter what manager we have had, we have never really played him in the midfield as much as I would have liked. He has always been played out on the right, which I've sincerely resented. And I don't know what happens with Mata at this point, but he has been a honest servant for us, and I really respect him for that. The performance was quite decent. I mean, Tuanzebe and Bai played together, which was great because they haven't really played together at all. So for them to have been able to see out a victory was important for me. Alex Telles had a great, decent game. And Ilanga did score a pretty decent goal up front. I really like his work rate. So I like Ahmad's. I mean, every match he plays, he does better than the previous one. Dan James had a decent outing on the left side of the wing. So yeah, all in all, this was a decent performance. this felt very perfunctory, the performance, which is a good thing when you are Manchester United, because there are going to be matches where you are not going to play exquisitely well. It's not going to be a memorable performance, but you'll be able to get out the result. So these kind of
Yeah.
performances need to be more and more frequent in these kind of matches if you're going to go for the bigger title. So yeah, second position secured. Not that much not that much of a difference against City. It has been a decent season. It was the right way to cap it off, and now we move on to the Europa final.
Okay, now we move on. Is the sentiment? What are you thinking, Wally, at the moment?
Well, it was a really good performance. I was actually pleased by it, and there have been cases where we have got results, but the performance has like it hasn't been as authoritative. And even against Wolves, you could say it wasn't as authoritative, or yeah, we were like blew them out of the park. But if you look at the control of the game was actually within our hands, even when we did
Mm.
not have the ball, because our defensive shape was impeccable. I don't think that. The Wolves players, even in the 90th minute, had to take shots from outside of the box. That's something
Mm.
that players rarely have to do, because in the 90th minute you have to advance the ball, put it in the box. But our defensive shape, and I'm quite impressed with Axel Tuanzebe and Eric Bailly in the last game. And for some reason, I have a feeling that Tuanzebe might have a part to play. And he is playing at left centre back, by the way, because in the game prior to that, Victor Lindelof was at the left centre back region against Fulham. He didn't impress. So as a result of that, Axel Tuanzebe was shifted in his position, and that's the position where Harry Maguire plays, and he actually did quite well. He made quite a few blocks. He was astute over there, physical, and that is something which actually confuses me. Why hasn't Tuanzebe got more games? And another question that I would like to ask Oli was: this was our second string team. This team also played against Leicester, even though we lost. I think we played decently well in that as well. This game also we played really well. So I think he needs to rotate the squad even more as we advance into the next season, because we actually have some decent players. All they need is some game time. Donny van de Beek has been the biggest question mark of the season. We finally
Mm.
saw his class in the final game. I'm relieved, and we all know that he's always been a classy player. He's
Yeah.
done it for Ajax, and we were talking about like how apparently we disagree that he wouldn't be played in central midfield. Well, that's because Solskjaer doesn't trust him. But if a player is, even though defensively you could say he's not better than McTominay or Fred, but he's disciplined enough. He's much better than Paul Pogba when we talk about defense in central midfield. And other
Yeah.
than that, he's press resistant. That's a press resistant. That's the most important thing, because when Fred is in central midfield, I heard an interview that Troy Deeney said that the strategy that Watford had against Manchester United. Deeney said that our strategy was that let the ball come to Fred, we'll wait for it, and then we'll press him. And that has always been
Mm.
the case. Fred hasn't been press resistant. You actually pressurize him and he'll misplace the ball. And that has been the case on many occasions. Van de Beek, on the other hand, he knows how to remain calm. He knows where to pass the ball. And if your central midfielder is press resistant, he would look for the ball right in front of you rather than sideways or backwards. And same goes for Matic. We saw quite a few, like Anshuman said, he didn't watch the United game, but I actually saw it completely from the first to the 19th minute, because my other
Yeah,
screens were being
I saw that game as
occupied by my parents. They were watching an Indian reality
well.
show for some reason. So I saw the
Yeah.
entire game. And in that, like I said, Matic and Donny van de Beek are way better than McTominay and Fred, because the way that they passed the ball right in front of them, they created quite a few chances,
But okay.
collectively 6 or 7. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with some of what you're saying, but the thing is that I won't compare the prowess of these players in a game where Wolves. This is not the Wolves that we, as Manchester United fans, have come to be wary of. This is
no,
not the
yeah,
side. Just hear me out once.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, because the pairing of Matic and Donny, I like them. I watched the game and they were a lot more controlled. Donny was great on the ball, but still the fact remains that we have seen this Matic when entrusted with these responsibilities against a tougher opposition. He somewhere lagged in the sense that he is not the same. He's not having the same energy as these youngsters.
yeah,
He
yeah,
somewhere lags in that department, and he's not that quick. And sometimes looks like he's a little bit. Uh, he's not actually acclimatized to
yeah,
the pace at which the game is going, and that is where my concern is. And although Donny is a great player, but Donny needs the support of Matic, a proper
yeah,
defensive midfielder like someone like Michael Carrick was for Manchester, or even Darren Fletcher played in the sense of where he gave the freedom to the likes of Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes. So that is the kind of performance we expect out of Matic. And quite frankly, at the age that he is in, I don't think he is the answer. We need a player like him, but not
Yeah.
exactly Matic.
No, exactly. That's my point. Because we need a player like him. He's not going to continue for
Mhm.
like 2 or 3 more seasons, but that is something which we exactly need. And during Project Restart, we saw that Matic, Paul Pogba, and Bruno Fernandes were our midfield, and we actually blew teams away in the first half by scoring 3 goals on plenty of occasions. So we dominated the midfield. And even though Wolves are a poor team, but if you look at the midfield, it's Ruben Neves and Moutinho, the quality midfielders. So I just hope that during the summer window, even though we're not linked with any midfielders for some reason, I hope we get a number 6 so that Van de Beek or Paul Pogba, whenever they play in central midfield, they could actually dominate the show. And yes, big up to Amad Diallo. Like Anshuman said, the way that this guy is progressing game after game, I think he I don't know, for some reason, if he signed Jadon Sancho, I'm actually quite worried for Ahmad also, because he's actually a decent player. It doesn't look like that this is his first ever season in the Premier League. Yes, a few mistakes can be made, but the composure that he has, the quick feet and the forward passing, the pass that he made to weight of the pass that he made to Dan James, that was impeccable. So I'm worried about that. So let's just see what happens.
Yeah, let's just see about the passing and Ahmad in general. Ahmad is a fantastic player. I firmly believe that he's one of the reasons why United are going to have a success in the long run because he's a quality player. It's just that we have developed enough players in the past a few years. We can't wait for another player to develop and then we finally challenge for trophies. This is the time that we should be nailing down on a Premier League, say uh, consistently challenging for the Premier League title, and that
Yeah.
should be the motive. And with Ahmad, I just don't think at the current moment Manchester United will be capable of doing that. So that's why we need someone like Jadon Sancho. We'll talk about it
Yeah.
later in the season in review. Uh, let's just change the conversation and bring a little information about the Harry Maguire injury update, and that is a major concern because he still has not featured in the latest games for United and has not featured in the training session as well. The latest news coming just 1 hour before that he walked away from the training pitch without joining the team, and that is a major blow that pretty much seals the fact that he won't be participating in the final for Manchester United. And I think that is going to be a troublesome moment for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United. Anshuman, why don't you share your thoughts with us about this?
Yeah, I mean, we have known this for a while now, and the worst is what we are seeing. And it was always going to be risky getting Maguire back into this game, especially after his injury. And look, it was always going to be a risk. But Solskjaer said, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, that if he does not train, then you can't play him. Simple as that, because that
Yeah.
becomes a risk. Because if he
Mhm.
goes injured, if he limps, or if there's any kind of issue in the match, then first of all, you're going to have to use a substitution. That takes your entire match plan out of the way. And if that results in a goal, then that's even worse. So getting him into the match, it's only riskier in the long run if he's not fit and he's not able to train. So I think we should plan accordingly and not expect him to start tomorrow. And I would say that given the injury he has had and given the measures that he's taking to make sure he gets back as quickly as he can, I would say he should wait out the summer. He should completely take rest, but obviously that's not going to happen because it's a matter of country. And if there is
Mhm.
any kind of chance that he has that he can prove his fitness in 1 week's time, then he's going to take that. And if that means not playing in the Euros, then that means not playing in the Euros. So yeah, I think starting Maguire tomorrow is too risky for me. I think we should we are going to have to trust to our other centre backs.
Yeah, it is going to be a major issue. And right now, what the situation is that no Harry Maguire is there for Manchester United in the Europa League final. Uh, let's switch our conversation and talk about something more positive. But I'd like to have Wali's thoughts first. What do you think about the situation regarding Harry Maguire?
Yeah, it's a big blow. We were having this discussion that Harry Maguire nearly played in every game. You talk about the Carling Cup, we talk about the FA Cup, the Mickey Mouse Cup, etc., etc. He's always there for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But that one game, which is now the most important game for Manchester United, he misses that out. And you honestly have to feel for the guy. And recently, his performances were actually quite well. He was being more vocal as well. He actually was turning into a leader that we wanted, and now unfortunately he misses it by the likes of it. And yeah, it could turn out to be a big blow, but by the looks of it, if you look at the way how Eric Bailly has performed, and Axel Tuanzebe has performed in the recent game, Eric Bailly hasn't been as impressive for some reason. I think he's a little bit dodgy. He just recovered from COVID, so I think there might be something about that. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has a big headache over here, because once one of your players who's a regular starter misses out, and you haven't started anyone instead of him, because he used to bench Victor Lindelof more often than not instead of Maguire. So he has
Yeah.
this thing that, does he go with experience in Eric Bailly against his former team, which will actually motivate him even more because he used to play for Villarreal, or does he go for youth and who would be actually even more hungry, because he wants to win a trophy while being on the pitch as well, and he's done well recently. He would want to prove his doubters wrong, because he's got his fair share of criticism. We talk about the racial abuse, etc., etc. I think Tuanzebe would
Yeah.
also want that. So I don't know. If I was Solskjaer, I actually do have a really hard decision to make. I think I would start Tuanzebe simply for the reason, because by we know that he can make a little mistakes in the penalty box that would cost us probably. So I think Tuanzebe, if you look at his last game, he has the recovery pace, the physicality, the aerial presence. I think he can do a job for 90 minutes at least.
Okay. So that's that about Harry Maguire. I think we have to just uh, you have to just accept the fact that Harry Maguire is not going to be there, and interest your other players to finally get hold of the game and remember that they are playing for Manchester United. And here there is going to be a situation where in the future as well, we are not going to have everything in your favor, but still you have to perform and perform at the highest level. Take me home, United Road, to the place I belong, to Old Trafford, to see United. Take me home, United Road, says Meme God. So there is a Manchester United fan among us here in the chat. Thank you, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Moving on, let's talk about PL season roundup. The season came to an end. I was hoping that we could come live and talk about this earlier, but we'll talk about it now. We'll not go into the details because we'll talk about every player once the season is over. After the final, we'll give the ratings, and we'll have a proper talk about how the season was for every player. Right now, we'll only talk about how the season went and what was the end like. It was quite a frenetic end because the European European league spots and the Champions League spots, Europa League spots, and the Conference League spot was in contention. Tottenham, Arsenal constantly didn't want to be a part of the Conference League, and finally Tottenham, courtesy
Beat
a
Arsenal to
certain
it.
a certain Gareth Bale, beat Arsenal. There are quite few memes going around on social media that one of the stadiums is having an airport just behind the goal. So one Sissoko free kick might as well be the end of some flights in that particular stadium. There is another stadium which has, I think, a railway line going through it just
Yeah.
by the side. So that is something which is quite funny. And Tottenham fans, for the misery of them, Harry Kane is also going. That is almost confirmed because the way he hugged Heung-min Son and Dele Alli at the end of that game, it pretty much sealed the fact that Harry Kane is going from Tottenham Hotspurs. There was another frantic end to the season for Leicester City, Chelsea. Leicester City, who had more weeks in the top
My
four,
God.
who had more days in the top four than all three or four of the other ones. That is Manchester United, Liverpool, Manchester City, and Chelsea. They were out of the top four in the final day and had to miss out on the Champions League spot. That is quite heartbreaking. But karma somehow struck because the way they way they treated the Chelsea banner after the FA Cup game, that was also something that quite a few fans didn't like. Anshuman, what are your thoughts about the Leicester City situation and the Arsenal Tottenham situation? We'll also talk about West Ham because they had a fantastic season. I have to give it up for David Moyes. I think he was robbed of the Premier League manager of the season
Yeah, he
because
should have
Pep
been given
Guardiola
it.
was given. I think David Moyes deserved it this time,
Yeah.
but we'll see. Anshuman, what are your thoughts about the frantic end and the PL round?
Yeah, I mean, despite the relegation spots and the champions long confirmed, it was one of the best ends we have had to a season. I mean, it was fantastic the way the all those at least those three matches culminated at the end. But I think we will start with Leicester. Things have not really been good for them. I think towards the end of February or early March, when they had started losing a lot of players to injury, I think James Maddison was going injured. Vardy had that operation with hernia. Fofana was getting injured again. And Yunshu, I think, was out for a while. I looked at them and they had started dropping points at that moment. And at that moment, I looked at their Premier League fixtures because I was getting worried. Like, is this going the same way again? And that's when I realized that their last three Premier League matches was Manchester United and uh, the last day of it, they were playing Tottenham, and then they were playing City. Were they playing City? Yeah, they played City. So yeah, Chelsea. Sorry. So yeah,
Chelsea, Chelsea.
that is when I realized that their end of the season was again a very problematic one, and if they did not at that moment, I really felt that they would, I think, fall out of top four quite early, and again the whole narrative will become what Brendan Rodgers has done it again. But it didn't happen because they continued winning right up to the point where they were getting points right up to the point where they beat us when we played as second string side. And at that point, we thought, look, we play well against Liverpool, we'll at least be able to make a draw. And Leicester City, at the end of the day, some way or the other, they will be able to get in top four. But it wasn't to be because first Liverpool beat us, and then when Alisson ends up scoring that header, that's when you know that look,
Yeah,
whatever happens,
Liverpool are
Season's
not
that
winning.
winning.
that
Yeah,
that's too strong a narrative that when you realize, okay, fine, this is happening. Like we were live here when
yeah,
that goal went in, and you
yeah.
see something like that, and you realize, look, there's something going on here.
I
Despite
said then
that,
and there I said it. I think I said it live on that. I think that this seals it. This must
Yeah.
be the goal that sends them into the Champions League. And quite frankly, as a Manchester United fan, as much as I hate seeing this and admitting it, Liverpool are too good a side to not play the Champions League. If we are being completely honest, they are too good a side to not feature in the Champions League next season and play in the Europa League. Because if they played in the Europa League, Europa League, they would have run riot in the Europa League.
Yeah, they would have
Can you
won it.
imagine
They would have won it.
the, with Van Dijk coming in and
Yeah.
them
Konate.
finally having a revenge season? It is going to be nuts. But still, a fair play, man. They played really well in the back end of the season and they pulled off what we pulled off in the previous season. So I can't
Yeah.
really complain.
yeah, I mean, given you think about the human side of the thing,
Anshuman,
some injuries that
Anshuman, I think your net is messing up because your voice wasn't clear. If you could repeat what you were saying, your
is it clear
net
now?
is messing up. Yeah, it's better now.
It's clear now.
Yeah, it's better now.
So yeah, I mean, from a human side of thing as well, that's what I was saying. That when you think what Liverpool have had to go through on the top of the COVID situation, that the injuries that they have had, it takes a
Hmm.
psychological toll on you. Every one after
Yeah,
the other, every single defender that you have goes like Gomez and then go one back. So that takes a lot of toll, and you consider one aspect side of it. I mean, like Jurgen Klopp lost his mother in January, was not able to go back to Germany to even a funeral. I mean, with it, I know it's very hard for us to assume football players as fellow human beings, but it is hard. It's hard. It doesn't take a lot to just think about how hard it would have been for him from a human side of view. You think about that
mm,
happening. You think about Alisson losing his father in the tragic
yeah,
circumstances that he did. And when it comes to a sense of a community that Liverpool brings, there's hardly any other club than Liverpool. I mean, fair play, man. Look, at the end of the day, when it happens on the pitch, we are all going to cheer. We're all going to shout abuses at each other behind the borders of our own club. But fair play, fair play. The way they have had this season, the way they have played, the way they have come back, they have deserved to be in the top four, and they have. Well, as far as Leicester are concerned, this is not as bottly as people are making out to be. because the last season, look, it was easy thing to have said, look, they have capitulated, and they did capitulate last season, and they have capitulated this season as well, because they just needed to win their match against Tottenham, and even if they would have managed that, they would have gone through because Chelsea had fucked up at Aston
Chelsea
Villa.
lost, yeah.
So yes, yeah, so there is a lot we can say that Leicester should have won, and Leicester should have won this. There is absolutely no denying this. But look at the other side of this, right? This is probably their second best season in the club's history. Like when they won the Premier League in 2016, that was supposed to be a fluke. That was supposed to be a fairy tale. If Leicester were to win the Premier League again, it will no longer be a fairy tale, because for them, from that point, in the next 5 years, to establish themselves as a footballing as a team that can not only shatter the Big Six hegemony, but can also regularly end in top five. That is a big achievement, and the club and the manager and the way they have gone about things, they deserve a lot of credit for that. Yes, the optics do not look good because they have spent 93% of their time in top four over the past 2 seasons. So not ending any Champions League spots in either of them is a bad look. But they have made strides this season as well. They have won the FA Cup. So as far as Sir Rogers is concerned, the idea of bottling is not as dominant as it
Uh,
was with
Mm.
Leicester, and it's not as dominant as it was with Liverpool, because there are a lot of things that he cannot control. It wasn't his hand that Liverpool capitulated in Crystal Palace in 2014. It wasn't in his hand that Gerrard slipped. So there are some sort of perspectives to be kept here, and I think he has made a better account of himself. Leicester has done a better account of themselves, and they have established themselves as a team that can end up in those positions regularly. So they deserve a lot of credit for that. So
yeah,
I think that is only
yeah,
something that is
yeah,
going to improve.
yeah. I think yes, I am able to grasp the fact that it's not completely his fault, and especially the way Liverpool lost the league with Steven Gerrard and everything like that. But I'm talking about this season, and this season in particular. I think Leicester have bottled it, and I know where your sentiment comes from about defending Brendan Rodgers, that people are being too aggressive on him, and I completely agree with that. That they have an agenda against him, and they have people have an agenda against Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So I completely relate with that aspect, that they have an agenda against Brendan Rodgers, and everybody wants to portray him as the one who has bottled it. But it's not about Brendan Rodgers in particular; it's about the team. Uh, I mean, they were leading to one. Kasper Schmeichel, when he made the howler of a goal against Tottenham, he made it
Mhm.
to all and gave
Go on.
Tottenham hope. They would have easily qualified for the Champions League,
14 minutes left. Yeah.
and qualifying for the Champions League in itself, I think this in turn reduces their in turn reduces their revenue from about 150 to 200 million dollars, if I'm not mistaken. So that is a huge amount, and that is the cost they are going to have to pay. If this amount was with them going into the next season, who knows, one or two transfers, and you are contesting for a top
Yeah.
four spot yet again, breaking the hegemony, again Arsenal being shouted upon, that Leicester City, a club who was not supposed to be in this position, are being in this position, again putting a lot of pressure on the fans to go against their owners, because then you'll realize, if you have an owner who has the club's well interest in mind, the club is going to prosper. And that is the thing I'm most worried about with Leicester not qualifying for the UCL. Although I can't really argue with the fact that Liverpool or Chelsea didn't deserve it. uh, Chelsea, I think Tuchel has done a great job, and they deserve to play in the UCL next season. But Tuchel still had a chance to win the Champions League, and I think this would have made a better storyline for them if Leicester would have won. Chelsea would not have been in the top four, and they would have had a more important match going into the UCL final. They would have to win UCL final for them to qualify, and this would have been again the 2012 season, where they had to win the UCL final to in order to play the next season, because I think they finished sixth with Roberto Di Matteo as their head coach, if I'm not mistaken, when they sacked Andre Villas. So that is the kind of situation that Leicester have put themselves in. They could have easily they could have easily been a side which could have been, say, I'm not exactly sure what comparison to make, because Premier League is a different argument whatsoever. Other clubs are in a different league. But the thing we saw in the League One, with PSG losing after I think 10 years. After 10 years, some other side has won. Lille has won
No,
this
no, no.
No, not after 10.
Lille
After
has won the title after 10 years, but
after
yeah,
10
PSG
years.
has
Yes,
lost the title after
but
4 years.
4 years. Yes, yes. I'm not entirely sure. Monaco won it once,
yeah, it was
if I'm not
Monaco
mistaken.
last time.
Monaco won it in
Mbappe was in the
2017.
team.
Yeah, Monaco won it. So yeah, and we saw that it's just not money with clubs like Malaga. If you remember, Malaga also got a big investment, but they weren't able to transform the club in the manner in which many clubs have transformed with big money moves coming their way. So Leicester City could have portrayed a club which goes down with the football hierarchy, with the traditional thing that if you have the right thing in mind and you have your intentions correct, if you work really hard, you can still have success. And that is what Leicester City is all about, with the Premier League win, with the FA Cup win. And you have, at the end of the day, I don't want to blame it on Brendan Rodgers, but the team in particular. I want to blame the players who weren't able to capitalize on the situation. This is the type of situation that makes or breaks a team, and I think Leicester City have I because they won the FA Cup. I'm not going to say that they have broken the team, but in certain sense, they have made two steps back than they should have made forward. So that's my take on it. Wali, your take on the whole PL roundup thing?
Well, City obviously deserving champions. Interestingly, they lost more matches than us. So basically, at one stage,
No,
we were in the
no,
title
no,
race.
no. It's same
They
amount of
lost
Oh,
matches
it's the same. All
because
right, so they
yeah,
lost
because
as
we lost two
yeah, yeah,
consecutively
nah, I
in the
remember.
back end.
So they lost as many matches as us, and in spite of that, they were clear and they won the title. So at one stage, we were in the title race, which actually shows that we have the potential to compete. And yes, we do talk about freak results and all that, but I feel that if we didn't go safe in some of the big games like Arsenal, Chelsea, or Liverpool, I think we could have got wins in that, and we could have piled on more pressure on Manchester City. So my hope is that Ole
But that
Gunnar
is
Solskjaer
ifs
is
and buts.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
ifs and
But
buts. That happens.
no, no. The thing is that I want us to be braver next season, and we can actually take these teams apart, man. We have quality players. So it's all right. Manchester United finished at second, 74 points. We need to improve. I hope we get more than 80 points next season. It's been quite a while.
Mm.
And then who was Liverpool? Yeah, man. Liverpool did exactly what we did last season. And everyone was making fun of us that we'll be in the Europa, we are 15th in the league, etc., etc. Then we ended up entering the top three. And
I think Liverpool's resurrection is better because they lost 6 games on a trot at home. They lost 6 games on the bounce at
yeah,
home, and still they were able to make UCL. That is a huge statement, and that is a big mental boost that they'll have going
yeah,
into the next season.
that's there. But I remember like we were 6 or 7 points off the relegation zone before we faced
Yeah, yeah,
Norwich City. And then at one
yeah,
stage when we lost to who did we lose to? We lost to some team at home. Everyone was calling for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's head. And then
yeah,
we signed Bruno Fernandes. And then you saw the
yeah.
remarkable turnaround. No one expected that. So yeah,
Mm.
Liverpool's was significant. Ours was good as well. So well, yeah, kudos to them. They're big teams.
Mm.
They should be in the Champions League. And yeah, fourth place Chelsea. Tuchel, I think he just got his. Roman Abramovich must have watched that final day closely. Tuchel must have had his heart in his mouth because the pressure in the UCL final would have been immense on him. He had to win that because if he didn't win that, if he didn't qualify for the Champions League, we all know what
He
Roman
didn't win
Abramovich.
it, actually. He didn't win it, but
Yeah,
he qualified. So,
yeah. So we all know what Roman Abramovich would have done, but now he gets some time. He might get some players as well of his. So yeah, that's there. And yeah, Leicester City, man, one of the most unluckiest teams with one of the most cursed managers, I have to say, because like you said,
mm,
Liverpool, they had a free run, they could have easily won the league. Then Christian
yeah,
Bull and Stevie G's slip, etc., etc. Something you can't predict. And then
yeah.
last season as well. They were in the top four comfortably sitting over there. All of a sudden, final game of the season, United versus Leicester City, we went 2-0. And in that game as well, if you remember, Schmeichel made a mistake. Jesse Lingard
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
actually took the ball away from him.
Lingard, final minute, final
And if
minute,
you're
final minute. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was the final minute, but you could actually see that if you're senior most players, if your captain is actually quite nervy and he ends up making mistakes, I'm not quite sure why does that happen because he was phenomenal in the FA Cup final. For me, he was the man of the
Yeah,
match. And I think it's more of a muscle memory mentality issue right now because they know that they screwed up against us last season. They had that in mind before the game. They were 2-1 up. They didn't know what to do, whether to be offensive, defensive, etc. You could be confused, and that happens. So this habit needs to change. Like for us, we had this habit of crashing out in the semi-final. Finally, we changed that. It took us time,
Mm.
but we changed that. So although you might have good players, sports is not just about having good players and executing your plans. It's also about being mentally strong, and that is exactly why we need to win tomorrow, so that
Mm.
we can actually have the habit of winning
Get
trophies
that
as well.
mental edge. Yeah.
Exactly. So Leicester City, yeah, and I agree with your point as well that they bottled it, but I agree with Anshuman's point as well, because Leicester City is not a team that you associate with them being in the Champions League more often. But even for them to be in the Europa League is also can also be considered a success if you're being very honest.
No, no, it
Because
is. It is.
yep,
I'm not saying that they have. This is a shambolic season. I'm not saying that. It's just that they could have transformed.
yeah,
The kind of
absolutely,
statement it would have made, the
yeah, that would
impact
have
is
been
lessened because
mm,
making UCL and winning FA Cup, you itself
something else.
transform into a top six
Yeah,
club in the country. You transform into
mm,
a top six club into the country, and you would
yeah, yeah,
have, because this is for Manchester United as well. The times we missed out on the Champions League, that directly affects the especially
yeah,
the morale of the club. And although we are Manchester United and people are still going to be attracted to us, many players who are, say, Aston Villa, even Jack Wilshere, for someone like him to play. If you can uh, propose a Champions League campaign to a player, how lucrative is that? That is the kind of pull UCL brings in, playing against top teams, showcasing your talent, and this is with the revenue added on, because I've already talked about it.
yeah, yeah.
This is what I was saying. I'm not saying that this is a bad season for them, not at all.
No, no, no.
But the kind of season they had, I think this is an underachievement. They could have
Yes,
easily,
yes.
placed themselves as a top four groups.
See, now this is exactly what their fans must be feeling as well. So basically,
Yeah.
now their expectations have gone another level. Now they believe that they need to be in the Champions League. So this is something
Mm.
which actually we didn't associate with Leicester as much. So
Mm.
I think it will change quite soon because they are a quality team, and even Brendan
Yeah, I
Rodgers is a
hope.
good
I hope
manager.
that. I hope that.
And
But
yeah,
although
for them to
I
win
don't
the
know for how long they'll have Vardy and stuff like that.
yeah,
But I think there'll be some transfers, but we'll see. They have a very
and
good management system in place. They have a good scouting
yeah,
system in place.
yeah,
We'll have to see.
and winning the
First
FA
class
Cup was
news.
also
Wally, you have
yeah.
a question. First class news says, what is Wally guy drinking?
I am drinking. What do you call haldi in English? Turmeric.
Turmeric latte.
Yeah,
Turmeric
turmeric latte.
latte.
Yes, exactly that. In Hindi, haldi
if you
wala doodh.
if you buy it if you buy it from Starbucks.
Anyways, yeah, like I was saying, so winning the FA Cup was a success, and they would be
Yeah.
proud of that. But I think it could also be a blessing in disguise for them to be in the Europa League, but because I think that they can have a long run in that competition, they can go the distance. You never know in the semi-finals or something. So let's
Yeah,
just
if they
see
win
what
it, it's
happens.
going to be fantastic. They can win it.
And
They have the
yeah,
quality
they can
players.
do it. And West Ham, well, David Moyes should have simply been given the manager of the season, and he still
Yeah.
has it in him. So yeah, and Tottenham and Arsenal, yeah, Tottenham can enjoy the Conference League, while Arsenal just plays one game per week. So yeah, that's about it.
Arsenal, what a shambolic state this club is in. I mean, I don't hate Arsenal that much because I have friends who are uh, quite humble of football fans themselves, and they
Oh,
accept that Arsenal are a mid-table team right now. But this club is supposed to be a top four club consistently. And with each season passing by, I have huge respect for Arsene Wenger as a manager. This guy made this club consistently play in the Champions League with the stadium rebuilt, with no funds being allocated to him.
these guys
Uh,
wanted him out.
and and these guys wanted him out. They called for his head, the greatest ever manager in your history. You called for his head, and I think this is karma. I think this is karma. You had to pay for it. You were calling for the head of the guy who single-handedly was keeping you in the Champions League. So, and I think the record was that most consecutive number of times a club has made into the Champions League. I think Real Madrid was the most number of times. Then
Yeah.
it was Manchester United and Arsenal. I think Barcelona now have an edge because our Barcelona have been consistently in the UCL for, say, the
Hmm.
past decade or so. So yeah, that is something that has changed drastically because Arsenal were a force to be reckoned with. with
Yeah.
Robin van Persie. Although they weren't winning
One
many trophies, but they were a strong side.
one thing that I would like to add over here is if they had the same energy for their owners at that time instead of Arsene Wenger, because they should have known that one of each star player was leaving every season. So something was
Yeah.
clearly wrong with the club. Why was this happening? So if they had the same energy that they had for Arsene Wenger for their
Anshuman,
owners,
can
then
you
I think,
join in with us?
yeah,
Anshuman, can you
it
join
would
in
have been
with us
different.
with your camera? Because people are calling for
I'm
first
here.
class
I'm here.
news says, I think Anshuman is supporter of Black Lives Matter because he's showing us the black screen. He's not interested in showing his face right now. And I want to shift the conversation, but Arsenal are a side that we have to talk about. Anshuman, what are
Yeah,
your
man.
thoughts about the state of Arsenal?
Fun fact about Arsenal: since the Christmas period, they are second in the Premier League, and it is a fact that has blown a lot of people's mind. Doesn't really mean
What?
anything; it's irrelevant because, yep. One reason for that is because this time in the Christmas period we had a lot less Premier League matches, and their worst phase where they were just above the relegation
Hmm.
zone was almost
Before
over,
the Christmas, yeah.
and
Mm,
before the Christmas period, yes. And the thing with Arsenal is that they have not been as bad as everyone makes them out to be, and they have not been as good as they want to be. That is
mm,
usually thing with every club at the end of the day. Like if Tottenham had not come back in the Leicester match, they would have ended in the conference, which would have been very surprising. Given would have and they I don't think they would have deserved it because
yeah.
the way they have been the abject performances that they have had I don't think they warranted a European campaign. I think they deserved this one season after a quarter of a century where they can just sit back, reevaluate the situation that they are in because it has not been good for them. I like Arteta as a manager. I like his strong-headedness. I like the decisions he takes. But at the end of the day, you have to take responsibility for everything you do. Giving David Luiz a
Mm,
new contract, signing Willian on a 3-year deal, giving that big contract to Aubameyang. All of that decisions were he was at the center of it all. So everything that happens after that, sending William Saliba out on loan, he has been one of the best centre backs in Liga. So he
mm,
has made it. He has made a lot of tough decisions, hard decisions, which if Arsenal would have ended in a higher position, it would have he would have been hailed for that. But that has not worked out. And look,
mm,
I don't like the idea of these Lampards and Arteta straight away going into a job like Arsenal and Chelsea because first of all, it is too
mm.
cutthroat. The fan
Yeah.
bases and the media coverage is I think too unreasonable and too toxic because it just bruises away everything good that they are doing and it just hampers their reputation as well. I mean, Lampard is such a bad situation right now. One season he
Hmm.
had that was in a championship club, he did fine. He had a good strong base to build up from. But now that he has went
Mm,
to Chelsea, the only club he ever really wanted to manage, he has left that club, and now the offers that
mm,
he's getting, he's not enjoying those offers. I think he was given
mm,
the Crystal Palace job. He's taking it down. That is the level that he's going to get a lower level Premier League or a Championship club. So I don't really like the idea of these managers getting these jobs with very little experience
You
because it
think
just
Nuno can
hampers
do
them
a
in the
job
long
on
run.
Arsenal? You think Nuno can do a job on
Who?
Arsenal? Nuno.
I think
No, no,
Nuno has
no.
a lot of experience. I think Nuno has a
I
lot of
think
experience
so
that
do I.
Arsenal
Yeah.
could use, but I don't think they'll look at someone like Nuno Espirito Santo and think that is the manager that they're going
And
for. I
that's
think they
why,
have tied the
and that's why I believe Wayne Rooney and this, especially the way Gerrard is going. Gerrard is going to be a
Hmm.
great manager for Liverpool when he finally gets the job because he is earning his badges right now. He is going through the tough track, and he has Gerrard. I think will be a very successful manager as well because he has tasted defeat time and again. He has not been able to touch the Premier League trophy, which he so much wanted to with Liverpool, and that is going to feed into him. And same goes for Wayne Rooney. And I think for Wayne Rooney is also because these two players come to mind when you think of good footballing, great footballing minds. In fact, they read the game very well. Gerrard also, although he was a scouser and people don't like him for that, but he was a fantastic player. And I
Yeah.
completely resonate with Anshuman here that these players who are very good players and are earning their badges as a coach shouldn't directly be given the big job that they most want to be in. Yeah, go on, Anshu.
Yeah, so Arsenal's situation is not that bad. At the end of the day, they just missed out on Europe. And like I said, they have been second since the Christmas period, which doesn't mean anything because at the end of the day, it's a 38 match season and you have to perform all the way through. But they have had a lot of performances. I think the big contract again that they gave out to Aubameyang has become a problem. Their
Mm.
best performers are now the young players who are playing freely. The player he sent the Arteta sent out on loan Joe Willock. Joe Willock has been in red hot form for Newcastle. So a lot of decisions that the big decisions have not gone his way. And so I think Arsenal. I'm glad that they are sticking with Arteta. I wouldn't really care either way, but to be perfectly honest with you, but I like for starters that they are sticking with him. I don't really, and they have one proper season without Europe. I think it will help them a lot because financially you don't get a lot of funds, but we have seen a number of times, especially in the Premier League, that when you have a season where you don't get Europe, it gives you a lot of time to ruminate, to evaluate your situation, to grow again, to play a lot less matches. Your team stays fit for the longer end of the season, and you'll have better matches against the teams who will be playing week in week out. So Arsenal
Mm.
have a good position, a chance here. They have a decent number of young players that they can build a base from, but and you are not you are never really that far away from a crisis, and you are never really that far away from good times as well, because 2 years ago nobody would have considered Manchester United going for the title next season again, which we are going to go. And Arsenal just are one decent season away from that happening, and I think Arteta does have it in him. I'm not sure they're going to back that Arsenal are in a financial situation to back him up as much as he needs to be. And I would like Arteta. I like Arteta. I like the way he manages. I like the way he talks. I think he has a better managerial career ahead of him. I'm not. I'm
Mm.
just not sure if that's going to happen with Arsenal. As far as their fans are concerned, I mean, the whole AFTV situation, I really don't like to get myself involved in all of that. But some of the way that they have reacted over the past few years is the kind of
Hmm.
toxicity that I really like to avoid. To be perfectly honest
Mm.
with you, I mean, when I was watching that Europa League semi-final, and
Mm.
that reaction of that guy who's no longer
Troops.
part of the AFT, who's now moved to Troops, I think. The way he
Yeah.
reacted to Aubameyang's
He is in
substitution, he
US
just
right now.
started thrashing his players around. He was he was one of the biggest voices of demanding that Wenger should go, Wenger should be sacked, this
Yeah.
and that. They have that reputation where your fan passion, it's not as much as passion, it's just toxicity, it's just reaction based on nothing. And it
Yeah.
doesn't come from it doesn't come from a place of footballing logic. It just comes from place of shouting that you are just creating the name of content. And I don't really subscribe to that idea. One example, when they were knocked out by the Europa League, in the Europa League by Villarreal, everyone was hailing Emery, and everyone was saying Arteta has to go. I watched a lot of AFTV, a lot more than I would care to admit, and everyone was saying Arteta has to go, Arteta has to go. And in the next match, in the weekend, they win the match. I don't remember who they won it against, but they won the match. And there was
Mm.
a YouTube clip on their channel with a quote that said Arteta could now become the next Ferguson. And
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
looked at
remember
like,
that. I
do you
remember
have
that.
no respect
Oh
for
my
common
God.
sense? Like, do you have
I
no respect
remember
for
that.
logic? I mean, at least for your own sake, please look yourself in the mirror, man.
But they
I
all
mean,
ended up laughing in that
I
video.
can't even, I can't even. Yeah,
Look
this
yourself
is
in
the
the
kind
mirror,
of,
blah. He has to go,
this
blah.
is the kind of,
Look,
yeah, yeah,
the
this
logic
is the
has to
kind
go,
of
blah.
extreme, this is the kind of extreme toxic fan culture that I distance myself from. I don't like it. I'm a Manchester United fan. Every time Manchester United drop a point, I want to break my TV as well. But
Uh,
some kind of perspective doesn't go along. It doesn't take that hard to think. Have some amount of compassion. Have some kind of perspective. So at the end of the day, this
For
is just football. Or
Tausif has to say something, and he says, "No one can rescue Arsenal." And good evening to you as well. Well, it's almost
good
midnight
evening.
now, so good night to for Tausif. Do you think that Arsenal analysts state that they are irrescuable right now, that they can't be rescued? Do you
Unless
think
until they get
that is the case?
new owners, new owners needed.
there is
Unless
no
until they don't
club
get that,
there is no club
I don't
that
think
is
so.
not rescuable. That idea that a club is beyond saving is it looks good when you're writing about it, but you just need good management, and you just, like I said, you just need one good season to get yourself back on track. Chelsea have this
Mhm.
every season. Like the third year against Jose Mourinho in
Hmm.
2015, they were in the relegation places. They ended up 10th. So you have these
They won the
seasons
league
where it
next
just
season.
feels like it's going to be a yeah, it just feels like it's going to be a long rebuild, and it just doesn't end up being a long rebuild. You just need
Mm.
a good phase, some decent decisions to go your way, and just like that, you'll be back. Arsenal are not that far behind. Look at the season; they ended the season in 61 points. We have 74 points. There is that as Liverpool ending up in third at 69 points. If they had an 8 point gap, it could just as easily have been built up if they had played like three matches well in the season. They could have ended top four. So those are the thin margins that we are
The
talking
way
about.
Liverpool
They are not
transformed,
that far away.
the way Liverpool transformed under Klopp.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
weren't very good in the first 3 seasons, but he transformed things around. It took some time for him as well. Hindi Bite says, Joshi, how's the Josh? Well, it is high right now, but it will be higher if we win the Europa League
Yeah.
final. Although Anshuman is also a Joshi, so he can also tell you how's the Josh, Anshuman.
My Josh is very low. I'm usually a very tired person perpetually. I just perpetually tired and nervous person. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Okay,
Yeah,
you're listening to us, you should be subscribed.
make sure.
Like the video as well. Okay, thank you very much. Let's talk about the game, man. We have talked about the PL thing and everything regarding. We'll just finish it off uh,
I would like to
talking
talk
about the
about the
well.
Conference League if possible.
We'll talk about it
Just
in
two
the post
minutes.
game. We'll talk about it in
Okay.
the post game. No, we'll talk about everything, the season and how things are
Yeah,
shaping up. That's why I want to keep it a little short. We can talk on and on because that is going to be a longer session, I believe. So I keep everything that UCL and the thing going on with the Juventus and clubs that are still in the ESL conversation. We'll talk about it that as well. So we'll talk about everything, but we'll talk about in the season review after the we after the and I believe we should be doing it after the Champions League final, but we'll see. We'll come after the Europa League final as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about Villarreal game, the biggest game that we talked about, biggest game in the past 3 seasons, I believe, in Manchester United's recent run of form. Bruno Fernandes, Pogba, everyone who is supposed to be representing United for a long time is going to be a lot concerned for this particular match. A lot of pressure on both the teams. Unai Emery's, you can say, vengeance season, but a remarkable season for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well, second in the league. And if we cap it off with the Europa League, a successful season for them. So I'll talk to Wally first. What are your thoughts about this, the big game? We'll directly move it into the top 11 players that you think. But I have a few
mm.
comments that I think we'll have to take. Hindi Bites is great podcast. Thank you very much, Hindi Bites. Please subscribe to our channel and ask your friends who are Manchester United fans or football fans in general to join in. Wally, about the Europa League final, a big final, and this is something that we all were waiting for. We were consistently being involved in the semi-finals. We finally have a final at our hands, a chance to win some silverware. What do you think is going to go down?
Well, as we discussed earlier, winning is a habit, and if we start winning trophies, it would actually do us a favor next season as well. And it's a big game; it's a massive game. And although we're not facing Bayern Munich or Real Madrid over here, we're still pretty much nervous. The reason
Yeah,
is reason number one is because Unai Emery has won 3 titles as the manager for a different club, obviously in the Europa League. But I'm not too worried about that. I'm worried about our team and the defensive lapses and sometimes getting overplayed in midfield. That is something which I worry of. But at the same time, we also have some attacking prowess which could make the difference. And we, on our day, can actually blow teams away, but at the same time, could actually concede a lot of goals too. Because if you look at the season, the Premier League season, for example, impeccable away record, undefeated, unbeaten. Okay, and if you look at the home record, we conceded the most number of goals after 58 years. So if you can play well away, why can't you do that same thing at home? So we basically are our own enemies at times. I hope that tomorrow Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Sir Alex Ferguson has also traveled there. So I guess
yeah.
he's going to have a pep talk over there. That might help. So yeah, and since Sir Alex Ferguson is there, you know Scott McTominay is going to start. He's his favorite. I don't know for what reason, but he's going to start. So, anyways, but yeah,
Roy
Villarreal,
Keane-esque. Roy Keane-esque.
yeah, Roy Keane, but Roy Keane hates Scott McTominay. By the way, he thinks that McTominay
Yeah,
and Fred together can't win the Premier League. So, okay,
yeah.
that's a different story. But I think Villarreal are really good at set pieces, defensively astute, low blocks. They've been analyzing Manchester United. They did get a day's rest extra as well. And Unai Emery is a seasoned manager. Gerard Moreno, he was just behind Lionel Messi in terms of goals scored in the La Liga. So he's going to be a threat. And if
Mm.
Lindelof plays there, I think he could cause him some problems. Other than that, on the set pieces, Villarreal have been quite good. Other than that, Villarreal are also undefeated in the Europa League. So it's going to be tough. And if you look at the last four fixtures that we had against Villarreal in the Champions League, they were all nil-nils. And
Mm.
something, even against Spanish teams, although we did quite well in the Europa League, we haven't done well against them in the finals. In fact, English teams don't do well against Spanish team in the finals in Europe. But I guess that we have it in us to change that. We have quality players. There are players that I don't trust, but at the same time, there are players who can actually win you the game. Edison Cavani, red hot form. He needs to start. I feel that he's going to score tomorrow. Bruno Fernandes, although he might not be having good games, you know he can make an impact. It just takes you 2 minutes. Bruno Fernandes will give you an assist or a goal.
Yeah.
Similarly, Marcus Rashford, that's going to be an interesting one. Although he's not in the best of form, but in big games, like if you talk about Liverpool, Chelsea, PSG, etc., he can deliver. That is something which he has in his locker. And so let's talk about the 11 for Manchester United now. David De Gea
Yeah.
and Dean Henderson. There was this huge argument,
Mm.
like there was this huge debate going on who should start. It's obvious. I think David De Gea should start. He has
Yeah.
done quite well in the Europa League, and he should be given a start. I don't think that should be debated as much as who should be starting at centre back region. So right back,
Mm.
left back, we all know Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw. Centre back region is something which is going to be interesting. If it were me, I think I would go with Victor Lindelof and Axel Tuanzebe. Central midfield, we all know McFred, McTominay, and Fred. And
Mm.
then if you go up top, Edison Cavani, number 9, Bruno Fernandes obviously in behind him, at the number 10 region. And this is it. Marcus Rashford. Do I start him? Marcus? Oh, I didn't start. Wait, if is McTominay completely fit, or like are they analyzing him or something like that?
I think he's fit. I think he's fit because
Because I
he was under some
mhm.
pain in the last game, last game he played. But I think he
Mhm.
trained with the team, and he is going to be there for the United side.
Because for this game, I wouldn't even mind if Pogba starts in central midfield, Rashford on the left and Mason Greenwood on the right. But if McTominay and Fred do start in central midfield, I think it's going to be Pogba on the left, and I think it's going to be Rashford on the right. Even though Mason Greenwood has been going through a really good run of form, and I think that's going to be so. It's De Gea, Van Bissaka, Luke Shaw, Axel Tuanzebe, Victor Lindelof, McFred, Bruno Fernandes, Pogba, Rashford, and Edison Cavani. So that's what I feel. And if you talk about the score predictions, we don't do quite well against the low blocks. I think it's going to be a
Yeah.
tight game, and I think it's going to be touch and go. I think it's going to be 1-0 in our favor.
Yeah. Okay. 1-0 in your favor, says Wally and Anshuman. If you could open your camera for us, I'd like to have your opinion on the game as well. What do you think about the UEL final? And what is going to be your predicted 11? Gurjeet says final score 2-0. Welcome, Gurjeet, to the stream and subscribe to our channel. He's a friend of mine, a football fan, a Real Madrid fan. That is, Fourth Tosif says final score 2-1 United. Okay, so many people are saying it's going to be a win for United. Gurjeet, I hope you are in United's favor and not in Villarreal's. Moving on, Anshuman, what are your thoughts about the game and your starting 11 and uh, the prediction for the scoreline?
Well, as far as on paper is concerned, I think United obviously are the outright favorites, and that is where we come unstuck because I cannot stop thinking about United being profligate in the game. I don't want us to be in a situation where we take it too lightly. I don't think United would want to do that. And when it comes to their team, they don't have as much pace as us. I think it's our pace is going to be absolutely crucial on the counter attack. But that is where they have a lot of positives because Una Emery has mastered this for narrow 4-4-2 formation and is doing a decent job. He has stabilized the club right now. They have had a mid-table finish just like they had last season. They won't mind that because 2 years ago they almost went down. He has resuscitated his reputation as well, so that's good for him. I really like that about Unai, and they have a sorted final starting 11. Which, if were it not for the fact that Samu Chukwueze is injured, they would have had their first complete first 11 as well. So they are completely ready, getting in coming into this match. Our biggest weakness is going to be our midfield, and that is where the strongest we are strong. That is also the strongest part because in the midfield it's a narrow channel of four, and they're going to have Dani Parejo and he's not one of the
Mm.
sexiest names in football, but he has been one of the best midfielders in the past for 3-4 years. And he will be supported by Francis Coquelin or Etienne Capoue, who will play a defensive midfield role, and both of them are very decent operators on the ball. They'll be supported by Jeremy Pino, and Manu Trigueros out wide. And up front, they're going to have Gerard Moreno, as Wally pointed out. He has had 29 games of goals in non-competitions, 23 goals in La Liga, which is the second best behind Leo Messi. So he has been in explosive form. He likes to run all over the pitch up front. He will absolutely like to take advantage of anything Manchester United can give them. And he will be supported by Carlos Bacca. I'm thinking Carlos Bacca will start over Paco Alcacer because he recently had a hat trick against Sevilla. So he is coming into
Yeah.
this match in a decent form as well. And he's pretty good with his positioning as well. So he'll love to take any kind of advantage. This Manchester United, if they are to concede goals, I think they are going to concede the same way we conceded against Sevilla last season, the same way we conceded in Fulham a couple of weeks ago, when your good old cross towards the far post and someone just plucks it in. And that is what my biggest fear is, because they are
Yeah.
going to have a lot of time on the ball, not only because they have a better midfield, but because our midfield is going to be Fred and McTominay, and they are not good on the ball. They are going to relinquish possession. And if this ends up being a match like Manchester City, where we are able to see out the match, then it's a different conversation. But otherwise, they're going to have a lot more time on the ball, Villarreal, and they'll get a lot of chances to have, play those diagonal balls out wide, where they'll be able to catch Wan-Bissaka out. They don't have the pace, but they definitely have the wit to undo us. Especially that we don't
Yeah.
have now that we don't have Maguire at the back, and it's hard enough to stop goals when we have Maguire. So it's making me already very worried. So that is where Villarreal is going to undo us if they are going to. And if they score first, I think they're going to take their chances, because their back four of Pedraza, Mario Gaspar, Pau Torres, and Raul Albiol, they have done a pretty decent job. And they were able. They had a very decent. If we talk about the defensive performances or immediate last match in Europa League, we were almost undone by Roma in a match that we had absolutely no right to. And Villarreal played out a very professional 0-0 draw against Arsenal in a match where Arsenal just needed to score one goal. Yes, they were very abject, but they will take a lot of spirit from that match, that they were able to take care of a seemingly better side. And they have confidence in their defense. It will be a much bigger fairy tale story for Villarreal if they win it. It's a small town. It's a very small town from Spain, and they
Yeah.
have never really had this kind of silverware glory in recent times. Unai Emery is Mr. Europa League. He's won it thrice. He took Arsenal to final 2 years ago. But I would hope, as a Manchester United fan, that the Unai Emery from 2019 shows up instead of 2015 to 2018, because Arsenal did lose 4-1. So
Arsenal was his
Yeah.
kryptonite.
I hope I hope that
For,
I hope that's not the only case, because I want Manchester United
Yeah.
to win.
but
But yeah,
for
that is
Tosif
where
says,
they.
Villarreal played really well in the last Liga game against Real Madrid.
Mhm.
Yes, they played really well, and if it wasn't for
And they
two late
lost.
goals, Real Madrid would have lost. If it
Final few
wasn't for the
minutes.
two late goals, yeah, the final 4 minutes, and that also shows the kind of mentality Real Madrid has. Real Madrid wanted to win the game so bad that they, even if it took them like till the last minute, they took the game there and they won it. Although Atletico Madrid won the league, kudos to them as well. We didn't talk about them. What a story that has been. Luis Suarez thrown out of Barcelona practically, and went to Atletico Madrid half with I think he was earning more than 10 million per year with Barcelona contract. Then he was at 5 million at Atletico and won the league for them with 21 goals, I think. And that is a fantastic story for any Atletico Madrid fan, for a football fan in general. A story of a superstar being sidelined and then uh, him showing that he's still a top player. Gurjeet says Manchester United needs to get a hold of their midfield. If pack it in and create more chances, I think Man United can clinch it. Yes, Man United need to create chances. That is going to be a major issue. That has been the issue throughout the season. Edinson Cavani has been in the box and many chances not been created many a times, and that is practically why we have many draws which could have been turned into wins. Gurjeet also says, what changes are you guys expecting in the next possible Manchester United side after the transfer window? We'll talk about it, Gurjeet, when the whole season comes to an end. Although I'll give you a hint, a certain Sancho is on the minds of every Manchester United player, a centre back, and a centre midfielder, a CDM, if you may, as well. So that these are the three positions that is going to be in conversation regarding Manchester United. Harry Kane, I don't really believe Manchester United have the funds to fill in all the gaps and fill in all the gaps and go for Kane. But we'll see and talk about it in the later podcast as well. Fourth also says Real Madrid was unlucky this season. Well, yeah, they had a good season, but they weren't able to cap it off with a trophy. Unlucky, but that happens. After a long while, they entered trophyless. So that is the case. Anshuman, give us your final 11 and
Score.
score, a predicted score line.
Well, my final level is going to be the very expected one. I think the back four, as far as it's concerned, Wan Bissaka and Luke Shaw out wide. I wouldn't be surprised to see to Wanzi start, but I think based on the amount of minutes players have had this season, I think Oli would like to keep things as stable as he can, not try to experiment too much, and start with Bailly and Lindelof. If things don't work out, we have 5 substitutions. We can of course change that, but I think that seems like a safer start for him. Because of the same reason, I think Fred and McTominay are going to start, because as even though they are not the way to go ahead. That is the midfield that we have played with throughout the season. So in the name of stability, they have to start again. Bruno will be a number 10. Greenwood, I think, based on form, he starts from the right hand side. Cavani is as a number 9. My dilemma comes in who starts at number as the left wing. Should we start Pogba? Should we start Rashford? Because, and the reason for that is Rashford will offer us the pace that we need to break Villarreal, because that is going to be a crucial part for us. On the same time, we need a midfielder who will be able to hold the ball, because otherwise we have 66% of a midfield who is not going to be doing that.
Mm.
So we need someone who can complement, Bruno in the midfield, and Cavani and Greenwood up front, as someone who can hold the ball. And compared to Rashford, I think Pogba does a better job. So I think that is going to be one dilemma for me. I think we have to start. I would start with Pogba. I think we need to create more control in the midfield. I think we have otherwise enough pace for us to take us through. And I think Rashford, for all the great things that he has done, I think I would relegate him to the bench for this final based on what we currently require. So that is my team,
Oh,
and I think I'm going to be incredibly wishful here, but my score predictions would be a 2-1 win to Manchester United. I think we should be able to see this one out.
okay, 2-1 win to Manchester United. For me, the back four is pretty much sealed with Harry Maguire not playing. De Gea in the goal for me. I'm going to be a little experimental, and I hope Matic starts, not Fred and McTominay, along with Pogba and Bruno, uh,
Mhm.
and the top three: Greenwood, Edinson Cavani, and Marcus Rashford. Greenwood from the right, Cavani from the as a striker, and Marcus Rashford as the left winger.
Not a bad
I
shout.
think I think if we go through this path, this could be an interesting game because Matic provides with the stability that we need at the back. We have Pogba and Bruno creating chances and being ballers in the midfield, and I hope that they can produce the kind of performance I am hoping for. I don't think we are in too much threat here because whenever Manchester United is under pressure, they are able to perform, and this is a pressure game for them. They need to win this game. This is not about wanting; they need to win this game, and these are the kind of games Manchester United are able to win. So I hope we win, but we are going to concede because of the aerial threat and the kind of performances
Obvious.
Villarreal have been performing. I think it is going to be tough and I'll go with a 3-1 win for Manchester United. We'll nick it in a lead goal and we'll be easily seeing things off
So
in the later half.
it'll be basically be 2-1. Then Villarreal will be having waves and waves of attack, and then it'll leave
Yeah,
the
yeah.
defense open, and then we
It'll
score.
expose them open. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that is what
Fairy
is
tale
going to go
scenario.
down. Because the kind of formation I'm expecting, I hope Ole goes all guns blazing and he says, okay, we have uh, our uh, our prowess is in attack, so we should
Yeah,
attack. We should not play
I
according to
wouldn't
the
mind
position.
Matic and Pogba in central midfield. I think it
Yeah,
would actually be good. Hmm.
so that is the kind of formation I'm looking at, but you never know. We'll see what happens. Any final thoughts, Anshuman?
Nah, no final thoughts. I just, man, just to fucking win the trophy tomorrow. I don't really care about how we play. Like I said, just won a
Okay.
trophy.
Wally, any final
The
thoughts?
performance won't.
Yeah, Anshuman.
Okay. The
Yeah, Anshuman,
performance won't
Anshuman.
really change my mind on Solskjaer, but I would really like a trophy. It's been a while, so just fucking win.
Yeah, and also I not only for the club, I want to shut these people off also. the ones who are
Yeah.
always hating throughout the season on Ole. I think Ole deserves his respect. It's time that people realize that the guy has done good job for Manchester United, and Anshuman is smiling because he knows where my fingers are pointing at.
I know, I know.
So
Yeah, even I know who you're
that,
indicating.
so that is my case. Every NFL
I
fans.
actually, I actually would love it if he shuts me up. Like I've said, I want him to
Uh,
prove me wrong. That would be great. And yeah,
yeah.
final thoughts are, yeah, Solskjaer, he needs to win this trophy. Would do him a world of good. I think this is his most important game as a manager in football. Yeah, he won the title with
After
Molde and
Paris.
all that, but he
After
won the
Paris.
title. Yeah, but he won the title with Molde and all that. But this is his most important game. And yeah, I think if by chance there are any Manchester United players watching our podcast, I think they should just read Anshuman's t-shirt over there. Whatever it takes, just win
Whatever
the
it
game,
takes.
have a shitty performance, deflected goal, handball, penalty, do whatever you want. Just get the goal and take the trophy home.
Okay. Finally, a chance for silverware, and we'll see how things go. We'll join you guys again, hopefully after the Europa League final and also after the Champions League final. Uh, I hope that we are able to get in touch during the Euros, but we'll see. Okay, as things stand, it's Manchester United going against Villarreal in Gdańsk. We'll see you guys again really soon, hopefully with a trophy back at Old Trafford. Good night.